Hi everyone, good morning. It's Tiffany, international healer and spiritual teacher. Oops, I forgot my headphone. 1 second. Okay, hope you can hear me now. Good morning, everyone. It's Tiffany, international healer and transformational teacher. Welcome to day 3 of the Empowered Empath Challenge. I'm so excited to teach you guys what I'm going to be sharing with you today because it is one of the things that really dramatically changed my life when I was still feeling really low self-esteem, low confidence, and having a lot of self-doubts and thinking that I'm not good enough. If you've ever had trauma in the past or negative experiences in the past that caused you to internalize some of your experience to make you feel that you're not good enough for a certain thing, or if you're not worthy for a certain thing, a lot of times anxiety can arise. Even with boundaries and assertiveness, like what we talked about in day 1, anxiety in itself could also arise, right? When you are just about to assert your boundary, or when you know something is not right and you start to feel that funny feeling. And sometimes we don't know what to do with it because we don't know what it is. So knowing yourself is really gonna empower you. So in today's teaching, we're going to shift our perspective. In the beginning of my journey, I was really afraid of my ego because I was really identified with it. Whatever my mind said, whatever my thoughts said to me, I would just believe it, or I would just follow it along. I was completely powerless. It felt like my anxiety was kind of like in front of me, dragging me and leading me wherever I want to go. And sometimes anxiety will create walls or like a resistance, stopping me from doing what I want to do. And we've all gone through one of those downward spiral where, you have anxiety and then you put a layer of shame on top and then a layer of rejection on top, and then we sabotage ourselves, and then we feel even worse about ourselves, and as a result we get stuck in this mindset, in this tornado. So starting with today, we're going to gain some clarity on the ego. We're going to befriend our ego. And a lot of times you hear people say your ego, it's not helpful, or you need to, not become attached to the ego. And it is really important to understand what they mean by that. By rejecting your ego, once again, you're rejecting a part of yourself. So in order to take your power back from the ego, you need to understand the mechanics of your ego, recognize for what it is, and then create a new perspective or coach your ego. Sometimes people get afraid or feels it's weird to be talking to themselves in their mind, but it's actually really good to learn how to self-coach, especially if you're struggling with anxiety and its fears. So let's dive into today's teachings. So what is the ego? The ego is an operating system. You have your physical body, that's almost like the hardware of the computer, and your ego is like the software. The good thing about software is it's easy to update, it's easy to shift. You can continue teaching your ego, coaching your ego, and lift it, elevate it into a higher and higher frequency each time. When people say raise your vibration, a lot of times the thing to do your vibration is to help you tap more into the soul, tap more into your heart, so that you slowly detach yourself from your ego. And then you're able to become the observer, observing your ego as what it is. And when you're able to understand the mechanics of the ego, you also be able to understand your identity, right? Don't look at the ego as it is an enemy. Look at the ego as a stepping stone that's going to help you actualize and realize who you are, get to your authenticity. Use it as a tool or a friend that shows you what blockages is inside so you can release it. So then you can release all the cords, release all the heavy anchors, and rise into your brilliance. So the first step when it comes to releasing the ego is to gain clarity. You want to become clear on when is your ego talking and when is your soul or mind talking. Hi, Eva. Thank you for the thumbs up. Hope you've been doing well. Okay, back to where I was. Okay, so you want to understand how your ego works. Now, in the beginning, I had a lot of blind spot. You don't know what you don't know. So I thought that I had no ego. I was like, oh, I don't want to be that aggressive, egotistic person. So then I won't have an ego. But a lot of empaths, starseeds, and lightworkers, we actually struggle with an inertia type of ego. The ego that sometimes self-sabotage itself, or things that is not worthy, things that it's inadequate. So when the ego fears that it is not good enough or it is not worthy, your behavior translate itself by being overgiving, by being people-pleasing, becoming the martyr, trying to save everyone. Because subconsciously, you're trying to make people like you, try to help people excessively, even though it's burning yourself to the ground or making you feel really uncomfortable. Because deep down inside, you feel that you're not good enough, or you feel that you need this external approval to feel better about yourself. And I was like that in a couple years ago in my life. And I was just like, enough of that. I'm enough of feeling not good enough, enough of feeling not worthy. I need to find out what happened to myself, to stop thinking that there's something wrong to fix, but actually understanding what happened to cause me to feel this way. And I realized that a lot of times it comes from childhood, right? You internalize some of the things that your parents say, your teachers say about you, and it can get stuck really deeply in the body. But the good news is healing is always possible. It will take time. It is a progress, but it is possible and it can happen. So some of the tips on how to catch your ego. So this is your challenge for today, is for you to start separating yourself from your ego, right? Still understanding what it is, but rising in your power, expanding more than just your ego and looking at your ego for what it is, and lead the ego to transform and upgrade with you. So number one, sometimes if you have thoughts that you're looking for what's wrong, right? If you have a nice clean room and one thing is tilted over, you focus on that thing, right? We don't focus on the 99 things that's going right in our life. We look at that one thing that's not going right. And sometimes when it gets too much out of balance, it can cause you to feel stuck. Number two is usually the ego wants to be right. It wants to, deep down inside all of us, we want to be liked. We are afraid of failure. We are afraid to make mistakes. So when you catch yourself in that space, acknowledge it for what it is. Ask yourself, is it my ego? And this happens a lot in arguments, right? When you argue with your, let's say, partner, even though both sides is right, but sometimes we have trouble validating each other and seeing each other eye to eye. So what helped me a lot in terms of arguments, it's pulling back and understanding that, am I just wanting to be right right here? Like, can I take space and make room to also validate what the person is feeling? So this actually slowly helped me stop fighting with my mom, because it was like Mars crashing into Venus every day. And it was when I was able to pull myself out and become more compassionate and understand each other's shadow, it became a lot easier to resolve the conflict. Number three is the ego usually wants to understand everything. So with that comes with a fear of unknown. To a degree, that fear itself is helpful, right? It protects you, prevents you to going into situations that might harm you, which is what the brain is programmed to do. It wants you to stay alive. But when it goes overboard, it can cause you to feel very powerless, very drained, very overwhelmed. And another trait of the ego is what I'll share with you today. The last one is that it often creates separation. So creating that, oh, that person is different than me, so I'm not gonna hang out with them. Or this person don't understand what I'm trying to say. They are not part of my tribe, right? A lot of empaths don't really have that problem because we are very inclusive, we care a lot, but sometimes it can happen. Sometimes I'll catch myself in like the beginning of my journey. I'm like, wow, I'm really like judgmental of myself, and as a result judgmental of people. I don't feel safe around people. So this is where you need to understand that I need to take responsibility to heal myself. Like, where is the self-judgment coming from? Right? Loving yourself first. When you change your inner world, the outer world is gonna shift alongside with it. Another tip I have for you today, part of the challenge, is to look at anxiety, look at negative feelings, or when you trigger, as a signal, as something that's like a stepping stone. It's going to help you go deeper into your soul, deeper into your heart. A lot of times we're so busy, so your soul doesn't know how to communicate with you. So it uses emotion to help you navigate, if you say this, reality. Right? Think of yourself like a rubber band. The farther you deviate from your alignments, the more resistant you feel, the more stuck you feel, the more restrained you feel. And when you're able to navigate back into alignment, then you feel relaxed, you feel surrender, you feel trust. So use your feeling as a compass, use your feeling as a guide. Follow what feels good to you, right? Tune into yourself, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, ask yourself, what is the right path for me right now? What is in alignment? And then also combining it with your logical mind, thinking, is this the right choice right now? What do I need to get into this path? What do I need to start this new career? Do I need capital? Do I need to do more training? Do I need to do more research? And understanding that, because as empath, a lot of times we separate ourselves from other people and cause us to feel lonely. The fear also creates this sense of inadequacy, right? That's just why we overgive, we become the martyr. We always want to take care of other people too much. Like, it's great to take care of other people, but if you constantly attach to the results and expect them to be a certain way of how we view it is right, then you're going to overexhaust yourself. So from what I have been speaking about, everyone, please comment. Let me know, what is the fear that you are struggling with the most, or what are some of the things that you've been doing to help yourself get out of this downward spiral? When you catch yourself, hey, maybe my ego is talking, what is very effective in the past that helped pull you out of that zone, out of that mindset? I would love to hear how you're doing right now. Please feel free to share with me maybe how you feel about the teaching so far, if you have any insights or breakthroughs. The next tip I have for you is to affirm to yourself, you don't need to save everyone. And you don't need to carry everything for everyone. So what I mean by that is, you know, as light workers, as starseeds, as empath, we want to save the world. We want to make everyone around us to be a better place. But you also need to respect other people's journey as well. If you constantly force people to be a certain way out of fear, they're gonna feel more stuck. They're gonna have more resistance towards you, even towards yourself, right? If you're not compassionate, if you're always being really harsh towards yourself, judge yourself, you're gonna sabotage yourself because you're so afraid to get there, so afraid to move ahead. and understanding that each person has their own free choice. They get to choose what they want to experience in this world. And it was so funny because a few of my friends and I get together. Oh no, not a couple of friends. It was in a session with a client, and one of like the message we got is like, if their spirit guide and their higher self can't really get through to them right now, why are you forcing yourself to get through to them? Or just allow it. You can be there to support them, give them some guidance out of love and compassion, but don't try to push it, to resist it, or to say you must be this certain way. And also allowing yourself to release the burden. Now, this can be emotionally, it can be energetically. Of course, being a parent, you have responsibility with your children, right? That's very normal. But are there anything in your subconscious field, in your energy field, that you actually can be released, right? That you've been caring for maybe since your childhood? A lot of us carry our parents' happiness on our shoulders, or we internalize it too much and internalize their view on us, their approval on us too much, that we stop ourselves from doing what we want. And I was like that in the beginning of my journey, where whenever I make a decision, I wanted to ask my parents. And what shifted for me was finding my soul purpose, finding my soul mission, that, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create my inner temple. I'm going to be a healing facilitator. And from there, I didn't even ask them permission. I just wrote them a letter, say, this is what I'm going to do. Thank you for your support. And I promise I'm going to give it my 100%. I'm going to work really hard. And, you know, just like a letter that flows out. And I hand the letter to them. And to my surprise, they were very supportive. They weren't like, oh my God, you just got a great job that gives you a regular paycheck. They were very supportive. So when you affirm, when you are in alignment with your soul path, where you want to be, what brings you joy, what sets your soul on fire, what makes you passionate, other people is going to reflect that. They're going to stop doubting you. They're going to be supportive for you. So the last question I have for you today from this challenge is asking yourself now, really going in and ask yourself, what is the mindset that I want to shift? Am I ready to shift going into from the victim mindset to the empowered aspect? If you are someone that have gone through a lot of trauma, it is important, of course, for yourself to give yourself that time and let yourself feel being the victim. Like for me, it was really hard, and it's really important to validate that person when they need to be in that state. But for me, after 2 years of like ruminating in that, I just said enough. I don't want to be stuck in this hole anymore. I don't want to be stuck in failure anymore. I'm done living my life as other people. I want to live my life, and I choose what I want to do. So in that point, I needed to ask myself, how do I shift from the victim mindset to the empowered aspect? So the victim, what I've realized is always look into the problem. I was always looking into what's wrong with me. What is the problem? And I'm stuck in there. Whereas when you're empowered, you focus on the solution, right? What is the solution to this situation? You follow a step, like you validate yourself, you look logically at your resources, how to help you succeed. In my case was, you know what, maybe I do have depression, maybe I need help. So I went through DBT, CBT, look for therapists, and finally coming into, okay, what is the solution here? What do I need to change in my life? And am I committed to make that change? And once I was committed, it was an upward slope from there. It's devoting myself to going to yoga every single week, devoting myself to do meditation as much as I can every day after work, devoting myself to go on trainings, to learn more, to get certificates, so then I can help others who've also been in my place. So don't be afraid to give yourself permission to release your old identity, right? In one of the life workshop that I did, releasing energy from past partners, one of the things that I shared was we get stuck with a certain person after breakup for a long period of time because we're so afraid to let that identity of us go. So allow yourself to slowly come into the space, give yourself room and space to be like, that Tiffany who dated that guy, it's okay. I'm ready to let her go. I'm ready to upgrade my software and my hardware so that I can be ready for the next part of my journey. So asking yourself, if you're still stuck in something, if you're still stuck in a relationship that ended, or like an argument that happened in the past with a coworker, is it really because of, you know, your ego, or is it because of you're afraid to let go of that identity that you once wore? Right? Going deeper and asking yourself these really good questions. So let me see, any question from today's challenge? Cool. So if you have any question, you can still type it in after the replay, making sure that to enter this challenge and for a chance to win a healing session with me, value at $120, making sure that you do comment in the videos so I know that you did participate. And then from there, I will draw a name for the winner for the healing session. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about one of the most demanded topic from my career is the inner child. So if you want to learn more about how to tap in with your inner child, now just like the ego, I feel like the inner child is also one aspect of yourself. But the inner child is much more connected to your heart and actually has most of the answers that you're looking for in life, especially when it comes to emotional healing. And throughout my journey, when I went on, you know, yoga, mindfulness, meditation, therapy, I always felt there was one thing missing, and that was it. It was shadow work. It was working with the inner child. And from there, I was like, okay, this is what I needed. The last step that I needed to get out of depression and to get into the empowered empath vibration. Awesome. So thank you very much for joining me today. Don't forget to join our Facebook group, Empowered Empaths of Light, and introduce yourself in there. Join the community. Don't be shy. And I will see you tomorrow for the inner child training. Thanks for watching. Bye.